The hip-hop world is literally spinning right now as the unthinkable unfolds. Jim Jones, the Harlem legend, the capo of Dipset himself, is staring down a fate that nobody saw coming. Life in prison. Yes, you heard that right. Life. How did we get here? How did a man who once stood on rap's highest stages end up one signature away from a federal prison jumpsuit becoming his forever outfit? Phones are buzzing, group chats are exploding, and the streets cannot stop talking. Is the FBI really about to end Jim Jones' entire career with one case? What did they find? A few bad business deals? A couple shady phone calls? Or is there something even darker lurking behind the designer shades and flashy chains? Some fans say this is all a setup. Others swear they knew something was off for years. Industry insiders are scrambling to distance themselves while pretending they had no idea any of this was happening. Sure they didn't. So buckle up, because what you are about to hear might just change the way you look at Jim Jones forever. The evidence, the secrets, the betrayal. This is not just another rapper getting caught up. This could be the biggest takedown in hip-hop history. Stay right here because we are diving straight into the madness. Jim Jones, the name that once echoed through the hallways of hip-hop like a kingpin walking into his empire, suddenly found himself at the center of a storm that nobody saw coming. And it wasn't just any storm, it was a hurricane of federal proportions, the kind that shakes careers, friendships, and legacies to their very core, and people across the internet, from hardcore fans to casual listeners, couldn't believe what they were hearing. The kind of disbelief that makes your phone vibrate non-stop with messages and tweets exploding like wildfire. Because now, suddenly, the man who had once flaunted private jets, gold chains, and parties that seemed to defy gravity, was allegedly staring down a future behind bars for a crime wave no one could have imagined, and the whispers had already begun in the streets and the industry alike. Everyone asking, how did Jimes, a figure who had carefully crafted an image of untouchable swagger, end up in the crosshairs of an operation so meticulous that it seemed almost cinematic, as if someone had taken notes from every thriller movie ever made and applied it to real life? Sources that claimed to have inside knowledge began circulating stories about secret recordings, encrypted messages, and transactions that allegedly linked him to layers of high-level corruption that stretched from nightclubs to private boardrooms. And even those who had been skeptical of past rumors were now staring at screens with mouths open, questioning everything they thought they knew about him. Insiders, who spoke anonymously because they feared the consequences, said that Jimes was allegedly under surveillance for months, possibly years, and the FBI, according to these leaks, had been quietly piecing together a puzzle that painted him not merely as a flashy entrepreneur or a controversial public figure, but as a key player in an operation that involved financial manipulations, shadowy deals, and undisclosed associates, whose names alone could start earthquakes in the industry. And the drama didn't stop at mere allegations. The leaks included images of late-night meetings in undisclosed locations, blurry photos that looked innocent at first glance but, when analyzed by so-called experts, hinted at something far more sinister. The public reaction was instantaneous and explosive. Memes flooded social media portraying Jimes in orange jumpsuits before any court date was set, some fans claiming it was a setup, a classic case of the powerful being targeted, while others were convinced that the empire he had built on charisma, influence, and possibly darker dealings was finally crumbling under its own weight. Former collaborators and friends were suddenly untagging him, deleting posts, distancing themselves as if a single Instagram story could absolve them from suspicion. And every move Jimes made, every statement or silence, was being dissected by commentators and theorists, who speculated on everything from hidden offshore accounts to secret alliances, some even suggesting that a trusted associate had flipped, providing authorities with information so damning that it could allegedly seal his fate. And even though none of this was confirmed in any official record at the time, the sheer volume of evidence circulating online made it feel terrifyingly real, as if the digital universe itself was conspiring to rewrite his story. And Jimes, in his own universe, was forced to confront the most unsettling reality he had ever faced, that his public persona, carefully curated over years of high-profile appearances, hit singles, and headline-grabbing stunts, was now vulnerable to forces he couldn't control, and every second in the public eye became a battle between perception and survival, between loyalty and betrayal, as whispers of imminent arrests, government probes, and catastrophic revelations swirled through the streets, making it impossible for anyone to separate fact from speculation, creating a tension that felt electric, like the air before a storm. And even casual observers could feel it, the kind of tension that makes you check your notifications compulsively, wondering what bombshell would drop next. What part of James Jones' carefully built empire would crumble? And as the world held its breath, the drama continued to escalate, one leak, one rumor, one cryptic message at a time, leaving the legend of James Jones hanging in the balance, teetering on the edge of notoriety and ruin. And with each passing hour, the question on everyone's lips wasn't just what he did or didn't do, but how far this investigation would go and whether anyone else close to him would be dragged into the same storm, leaving a trail of suspense, fear, and intrigue that no one, not even James himself, could ignore. James Jones's world, once filled with flashing cameras, sold-out shows, and endless parties, was now a labyrinth of suspicion, whispers, and hidden threats, every corner of his empire suddenly feeling like a potential trap. And the same people who had celebrated his rise were now questioning every alliance, every deal, and every handshake. And it was not just the fans and casual observers who were talking. The so-called insiders with anonymous sources began leaking what they claimed were details of financial irregularities, secret meetings, and covert operations that allegedly linked him to a network of powerful but shadowy figures. And though these leaks could not be verified, the sheer audacity and specificity of the claims made them impossible to ignore. From late-night rendezvous in private penthouses to obscure shell companies moving millions in ways that suggested sophistication. Beyond typical street-level maneuvering, it seemed that everywhere James turned, the walls were closing in. Rumors of cooperation between one of his closest associates and federal authorities spread like wildfire, sparking panic in his inner circle and sending shockwaves through anyone remotely connected to his operation. And every text, every private call, and even casual conversations were suddenly scrutinized by online detectives and theorists, dissecting the situation piece by piece, suggesting motives, betrayals, and alliances that might have once seemed improbable, while former collaborators deleted all traces of loyalty from social media, distancing themselves as if a simple unfollow could shield them from legal and reputational fallout. And James himself reportedly spent hours pacing through his private residences, analyzing which moves could protect his freedom, which relationships were worth saving, and which secrets might be used as weapons against him. And public opinion was equally polarized, with some fans insisting he was being set up in a grand conspiracy by rivals and authorities jealous of his success, while others claimed that the accumulation of alleged evidence left little room for doubt. And the media frenzy only intensified, every new report or supposed leak fueling speculation and online chaos, creating an environment where truth and fiction blurred. And every rumor, whether about hidden accounts, offshore holdings, or clandestine deals, was amplified, dissected, and shared, creating a sense of urgency and fear that seemed almost theatrical. And yet, despite the mounting pressure, James maintained a composed front in public appearances, smiling for cameras, dropping cryptic lyrics, and showing the same bravado that had made him untouchable for years, all while the shadows of investigation reportedly grew longer, and sources continued to hint at more explosive revelations, including alleged surveillance capturing late-night meetings with powerful, unnamed figures, discussions that, according to these sources, suggested influence, manipulation, and maneuvering on a scale that most of the public could barely comprehend. And industry experts, or at least those claiming insider knowledge, spoke of potential legal catastrophes that could engulf not just him but an entire network of associates, each of whom might be implicated in a larger story that involved money, control, and loyalty, all while fans speculated endlessly about what might be hidden behind the glamorous public persona, suggesting everything from secret contracts to coded messages in lyrics. And every discussion online added pressure, making it impossible for James to ignore the growing storm of suspicion. And even as he maneuvered through interviews, studio sessions, and meetings, the idea that one misstep could trigger a cascade of revelations loomed like a constant threat, forcing him to rethink alliances, scrutinize decisions, and weigh every word spoken in private or public. And the tension was palpable, not only in his life but across social media and the streets, where every detail, real or imagined, fueled debates, memes, and viral posts. And the sense of a narrative spiraling out of control was everywhere, creating an atmosphere where the legend of James Jones, the man who had once seemed untouchable, was being rewritten in real time, shadowed by allegations, secrets, and the ever-present question of what he really knew, what he really did, and who might be watching, waiting, and ready to exploit any crack in his carefully constructed armor, leaving a chilling sense that the story, far from over, was entering an even more dangerous phase. Jimes Jones now found himself trapped in a world that was once his playground but had turned into a labyrinth of suspicion, betrayal, and potential ruin, every corner of his empire seemingly hiding threats that could collapse everything he had built. And the whispers that had once circulated quietly were now deafening. Rumors of secret informants, covert surveillance, and alleged financial manipulations filling the feeds of fans and the reports of so-called insiders, making it impossible to separate reality from speculation. And as the pressure mounted, those closest to him reportedly began making decisions that left him isolated, the people he had trusted for years suddenly re-evaluating their loyalties, with some quietly disappearing from public records, others allegedly cooperating with authorities to protect themselves, and every move he made, every statement issued, even every silence, was dissected, analyzed, and spread across platforms, creating a tension that felt palpable, as if the walls themselves were closing in. And while he maintained the facade of control in public appearances, interviews, and studio sessions, inside he was facing a storm of uncertainty, strategizing, calculating, and wondering how to navigate a situation that seemed to grow more dangerous with each passing day. And the alleged evidence against him, from supposed secret recordings to purported financial trails, kept the narrative spinning faster and faster, while the media frenzy surrounding him reached a fever pitch, turning casual viewers into armchair detectives who debated every detail of his actions, motives, and possible connections, making his life a constant game of chess against an invisible opponent, with each move potentially carrying massive consequences. And the street-level gossip amplified by online speculation only added layers to the mounting pressure, with fans divided between those convinced of his innocence and those certain of his guilt, each group fueling the other with theories, memes, and heated arguments that seemed to trap him in a spotlight he could not escape. And the sense of an impending climax was everywhere, with insiders hinting at imminent legal moves, new revelations, and potentially explosive betrayals that could reshape everything around him. And as he walked through the spaces he once dominated with confidence, now every glance, every handshake, every message felt like a test, every decision potentially tipping the balance between survival and downfall. And in private, he was reportedly weighing options that no one could imagine, from plea deals that might protect him at the cost of reputation, to standing firm and facing what could be catastrophic consequences, all while the narratives surrounding him continued to grow, fueled by leaks, speculation, and the viral nature of the internet, creating a perfect storm in which Jimes Jones, once untouchable, now existed on the edge of uncertainty. And the tension built further as each new piece of alleged information surfaced, suggesting that the investigation, whether real or imagined by the public, was far from over, implicating more associates, threatening long-held alliances, and challenging every strategy he could conceive. And the combination of legal pressure, public scrutiny, and the unraveling of personal connections created an atmosphere where the next move could change everything, forcing him to confront the reality that in this world, perception could be as dangerous as any legal maneuver, and that the empire he had painstakingly built could crumble. Not from lack of talent or ambition, but from forces beyond his control. And every choice, every hesitation, every calculated risk now carried weight that would define his legacy, influence the narrative of his life, and determine whether Jimes Jones would emerge from this storm intact, a survivor who adapted and maneuvered through the chaos, or whether he would be consumed by the very world he once seemed to command, leaving a legend shadowed by controversy, suspicion, and the haunting question of what might have been if even a single decision had gone differently. And as the night fell and the lights dimmed across the city he once ruled, the story of Jimes Jones remains suspended in uncertainty, a thriller of reputation, power, and survival that no one, not even he, could yet fully control. No one, not even he, could yet fully control. The story of Jimes Jones doesn't end here, and the truth is still unfolding right before our eyes, leaving us to ask the questions that keep everyone on the edge of their seats. Will he manage to outmaneuver the storm of allegations and whispers that threaten to consume everything he has built? Or will the walls finally close in, forcing him to make choices that could change his life and legacy forever? And this is exactly the moment to step back and look at the bigger picture. Because in a world where loyalty is tested, secrets are exposed, and power shifts in the blink of an eye, nothing is ever certain. And the people around him, the fans, and even casual observers are all part of this unfolding drama, watching, speculating, and debating what could come next. And we want to hear from you. What do you think Jimes Jones should do? Will he find a way to navigate this chaos? Or is this the beginning of the end? And every comment, every opinion, and every theory adds fuel to this fire of intrigue. So don't stay silent, join the conversation, weigh in, and let your voice be heard, because this story is far from over, and as new details emerge, you won't want to miss a single twist, turn, or revelation. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay locked in for all the updates on the saga of James Jones, the investigation, the drama, and the shocking truths that are still waiting to come to light.